about extending some of your current stars. And what about Jose Altuve? I know that we don't really talk about this much, but he's not he's going to be a free agent pretty soon. So we're going to have to start thinking about extending him because he is the face of their franchise. And the Astros have signed somebody who's going to save their 2023 season. Yes. No, it's not Yuli Gurriel. We'll talk about who it is on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast that starts now.
Alvarez hits a high drive center field. Veer leans back. This game is turned upside down. There's the runner. Fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we update you joins for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, and we are happy to be here. Baby, it's cold outside, so why don't you stay on in and listening to the Locked On Astros podcast. Brett, where can you find you on this cold evening?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive. Positive, I'm going to let you read the Drellich book. Always Stros.
Alrighty, and I am going to do that because I do want to know what he has to say, and I know he's already talking about how the Astros tried to get him fired and everything, but we'll talk about that later after I read the book. But this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. And thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and keep on subscribing to us and give us a big fat thumbs up at the same time. And go ahead and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Check out the Locked On Astros podcast. So there is so much for us to discuss, and I don't know if we're going to even get time to discuss everything that's kind of here today because there's a lot. Whether it's Joe Kelly, whether it's the book that's about to come out pretty soon by Evan Drellich, and there's the schedule. I mean, I know we knew the schedule, but there's also the times. So now you can start making plans. Oh, I can go this game now that I know it's a noon game or it's a 7 o'clock game. So now you can go look at the schedule and do all that. So we're going to talk about all that. But for right now, let's go ahead and talk about what Dana Brown said on Sports Talk 790 today. And he said something that's pretty awesome, something that we knew was coming. But for him to come out and say that he's optimistic about extending who, Brett?
Oh, he's optimistic about extending Kyle Tucker. He believes that is something that can get done. This is a guy that comes from an organization. We know the Atlanta Braves, obviously, they locked up several key players and one of the best young pitchers in the game till 2028. It was funny because in his interview on Sports Talk 790, Eric, he mentioned the number 3 a lot. He was like, we're going to do these 3 things. You're going to do these 3 things over here. And he basically told Adam and Wex that he's like, look, I'm here to keep the good times rolling. And our job in what I do is to acquire players, lock them up long term. And then after you do that, we've got to do the grunt work. We've got to scout and we've got to see players. Because he said in Atlanta, Eric, they believed in scouting with a combination of analytics and simply looking at their makeup. I mean, you can crunch numbers all day. You can look at analytics. But what is the makeup of this player? Who is he? What does he do? Where does he go mentally when things go south? What kind of player is he? Is he a competitor? Is he a grinder? We have seen how Framber Valdez has transformed his game psychologically and become one of the most dominant pitchers. But not only do you have Tucker, but you also have Javier. You have Valdez. Like you mentioned, there's Altuve. You want to keep him a longtime Astros player. You want to keep him in an Astros uniform until the end of his career. But I think Dana Brown is the right man for the job. I don't think he's just saying the right things. I think he's going to do the right things. Because there's a difference. You can listen to someone talk and you can know when they're selling you a bunch of crap. Like you can tell when their word is like they're just all hype. This guy is not just hype. He's also action because he's been part of a proven system.
Yeah, I know that if you look at what Kyle Tucker's saying, he's saying all the right thing. My focus is just getting prepared for the season and letting the other stuff just play out. He's not worried about the arbitration. He's not worried about the big difference between what he wants and what the team wants. And I think that in the back of his mind, he probably thinks that, yeah, maybe the little difference is going to lead to maybe a long-term deal. So, how long term a deal? You're thinking of a owner who has not given out those long term extensions, those long term deals. In fact, I think to date, if you look at the longest deal he's given out, wasn't it the largest free agent guarantee remains the $52 million he gave to Josh Reddick. I believe that was for 5 years before 2017. But you see all the new deals that came out this offseason. And I think Jim Crane is like, okay, well, maybe I do need to change some things. I don't want to go out and have to pay 9 years, 10 years for this player. But what about players that we have now? If we can buy out some of their arbitration years and then lower the AAV like they did with Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman and make it where it's not hampering them with the luxury tax threshold later in their career, it's probably a better deal to go ahead and try to do that. And that's what they did with Yordan Alvarez as well. And so I think that with Brown coming here, I think there's going to be a greater emphasis of retaining the talent because the Astros are a good team at bringing in players, getting the players they need. We've got to talk about this Hall of Famer that the Astros just signed today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the key thing that Brown, Crane, Jeff Bagwell, everybody keeps on bringing up is the player retention. And we've seen from the Royals, you can't maintain a dynasty or whatever they wanted to be called without keeping those players. And when you don't want to pay for the players, then you're going to lose them. We saw that with Springer. We saw that with Correa, Keuchel. When these guys come up, they leave. And so maybe it's time to kind of alter your thinking and just go all in. And that's what Dana Brown can do for you.
Now, my thing here, and I agree with everything you said. My thing here is when you look at the player, yes, we did lose marquee players. We lost Garrett Cole. Keuchel, I'm not upset about. Keuchel fizzled out after he left. Springer, great player. Love the guy. Nothing against Springer. But I'm not mad that we didn't pay him because we've been able to sustain that success. Even with Correa, I'm not upset at all that we didn't sign him to a long-term deal. And it looks like there was more than one reason that we didn't sign him. And so they've navigated these waters in these big arms like Charlie Morton. You can't forget about him. These people that were key cogs in a championship wheel in 2017 and even championship runs through the following years, even 2021, 2019. But it's like Dana Brown said about Jim Crane. He said that Jim Crane is a get it done now, a right now business guy. He's focused on things now. He's not focused on things long term. So whatever Jim Crane has to do to keep his club not only where they're at, but to continue to compete for a World Series title, he's going to do that. And even when people question things like, well, why did they bring back Martin Maldonado? Well, why not? Why wouldn't you?
Right.
You just won a World Series with him as your backstop. You yacht him to not only continue to work with the pitchers, but to mentor young catchers. And I think right now their biggest need is who's going to be a utility outfield type guy. Is it going to be Mauricio Dubon? I kind of hope they get someone else. Or is it, who's gonna help out in left field when Brantley can't be out there, things like that. But you can put all the bets on the table. You can do all the things you want to, but I'm telling you right now that if you are going to have a Super Bowl party, you need to get the only app that is the best one to have at a Super Bowl party, and that's FanDuel, the number one sports book. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the number one sports book in America. That's FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Download FanDuel right now so you can get your Super Bowl 57 with a no sweat first bet. That's right. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to the point spreads to who will score a touchdown. Trust me, you'll want to go check it out. Is it going to be Jalen Hurts? Is it going to be Patrick Mahomes? Who is going to end up the Super Bowl champion? Who will be the Super Bowl MVP? So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now, Eric, this Dana Brown signing is, to me, so exciting in that we look at where he's come from and we look at him, admire from afar what we've done. Adam and Wex, Adam Clanton and Adam Wexler asked him, what have the Astros done in the draft that you admired? And he said when he was in Toronto, they drafted this kid, Jeremy Pena, in the 3rd round out of a small college in Maine. And he's like, this kid's going to be really good. And he said now he's a World Series MVP. So they've done that. But his job is to get this farm system, not just 1 or 2 diamonds out of the rough, but to build it up and to make it competitive so that it is one of the top minor league systems. And I love hearing that from this GM.
Yeah. And if you look at the success he had as I know he wasn't the GM, but he was kind of the president of amateur scouting, and he had a hand in the extension of these players. But you're talking about not just young players, but you're talking about like Austin Riley. I know he's considered a young player, but Matt Olson got $168 million for 8 seasons. Then you also had who else was it that got a long-term deal? It was their new catcher. I can't think of his name at the moment, but
Sean Murphy.
Yeah, Sean Murphy got a long-term deal too, and they just traded for him. So the Braves just have this knack of just being able to do this, and so the Astros just need to find a way to do the same thing. It may take some time, and they may miss a player here or there, but I think they could do it. And Austin Riley signed a $212 million across 10-year deal. Olsen got $168 million for 8 seasons. So I don't know if we're going to see Crane just be throwing out the money like that. But you've got to see him just kind of like give some more to keep some of these players in Houston a little bit longer, because you can't keep on letting these guys go. Of all the players the Astros left, I think George Springer, as we still struggle to find a center fielder, George Springer was the biggest loss, honestly.
He was the biggest loss, but again, we won a World Series without him. We have Chas McCormick, who stepped up in a major way. Chas McCormick's not George Springer. They're 2 different players completely. But Chas McCormick did the job admirably, not only defensively, but offensively. I mean, hitting home runs in Yankee Stadium, just doing what he does. Chas McCormick basically defying the odds, going against the grain, not being the player that everybody thought he was going to be, but being better. And that's where I think this club and the culture of the Houston Astros really thrives, because where they do lack, and like you say, they do miss a big star, because who wouldn't want George Springer to be still on this Astros team? I don't know a single person who's upset or disgruntled at George Springer for going and getting paid, right? Going up to Canada. And the Blue Jays have really underperformed up there. They've really disappointed to where a lot of people thought they were going to be. I know we were last year, we were right on the cusp of the playoffs, and it was the Blue Jays that we were concerned about
Right.
because George Springer is this clutch guy in the playoffs. Another thing that was also said, and you had mentioned this, was one of my favorite players growing up, George Brett. George Brett talked about Jim Crane, and I think I like George Brett because my first name was Brett, and the guy had my name on the back of his jersey. I thought that was cool.
Uh-huh.
Sort of because the Kansas City Royals 1985 team is pretty special. But he basically said, because they were asking him about, Jim Crane. And he said, he's a winner. He surrounds himself with winning people. That's why Reggie's with the Astros. He's a great owner. He does what it takes to win championships. And Houston should be very proud of him. And let me tell you, we are very proud of him. But Eric, I want to pump the brakes on something. People are saying we have to sign Tucker to a 10-year deal. We have to sign Tucker to a massive long-term deal. I don't think we have to. I think with Dana Brown here, and I think with the pieces that we have and the sustainability that we have, that we can talk Tucker and these other players into shorter deals with, like, look, we give you a 6-year deal. By the time we get to year 5, we're going to restructure it. We're going to extend you out longer and just give you 3 or 4 years and give it to them like that. And I think, to me, if I'm a player, if I'm a competitor, and I have a chance to be a part of a team that could win 2 or even 3 more titles, why wouldn't I do that? I think this is the one place where you may see that trend change a little bit with Dana Brown at the helm.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. And I just had a special request via text that we need to start talking about the Hall of Famer that's got the Astros signed today. But before we get there, I know that Jeff Bagwell was asked about adding future some more players, and he did say that we have to see what happens. There are some rooms for additional players. And I know everybody wants to know about Yuli Gurriel, and I think even Dana Brown has announced it. I mean, not announced it, but like talk about it too. But
He
they
did.
already have a first baseman. So, like, where is he going to play? Is he just going to be a DH? And then Michael Brantley, by the way, has said that he expects to be ready for opening day. So that kind of, there was that whole tug of war between Jeff Bagwell and then Chandler Rome saying that they don't think that they're ready, and he's going to be ready by opening day. So Michael Brantley actually just came out and said, like, no, I'm going to be ready by opening day. I'm doing great. Just following the process, following the schedule we have planned out. All is going well. I'm excited where I'm at. I've been hitting, running, and throwing. I'm very excited where I am at the process. So
Yeah.
we'll see how he does. But before we move on from this whole topic, I do want to, of all the random people, Derek Jeter was at this golf tournament, and he
Well,
made a good comment. This is a lifetime Yankees fan, or not fan, but a player. And maybe he's a fan. I don't know. Maybe
I'm
he
sure
likes
he is.
now. But
He's a little bit more than a fan, but go
this
ahead.
is what he had to say about the Astros. He said they have a great young team. It seems like regardless of what happens, they just seem to replenish every year, which is important for you to have sustainable success. They have a great system, and it starts from the top. And Jim Crane has done a great job. It seems like everybody at that tournament, I mean, no offense, Jim Crane, we love you, but it seems like everybody was just saying great things about Jim Crane at that golf tournament. And so everybody loves him in Houston, and people that come to Houston just have good things to say about him. So he's done a great job bringing the World Series back to the Astros, and he did a great job as the interim GM. So before
Well,
we talk about this Hall of Famer, Brett, go ahead.
well, yeah, hold on. I just want to add something to the Derek Jeter conversation, because the very first part of that comment was, do you think the Astros will go back to back? Because the last team
Oh,
to
yeah.
do it was the Yankees team you were a part of. And that's when he's like, well, it's hard to just win one. And a lot of people were like, yeah, it's really hard for the Yankees to win one, apparently. But he, literally, there were some Yankee fans that literally commented, I was genuinely worried when I saw that Derek Jeter was at this golf tournament, and I was worried what he would say. And people were hanging on every word that he gave, because he is the captain. He is Derek Jeter. and he
No,
is
Aaron
he is
Judge is the
someone.
captain. He's the captain now.
Well, what I'm saying is he's known as the captain. He was the face of the Yankees. He was the face of those titles, Mr. 3000. So he's got almost a royal mystique. And he's the guy that a lot of people wanted to be hired as like the president of the New York Yankees or the GM, because everybody's getting mad at Cashman because they weren't signing players, so on and so forth. So you teasing this Hall of Famer that we signed, and I'll just have to say, Eric, I have to disagree with you. I don't know that this guy's a
Really?
Hall of Famer because he is on a minor league contract. But what is this guy's name? And I know you're joking, but what is this guy's name?
His name is Ty Buttery. And he is a former excellent guy out of the Angels bullpen who used to
Okay.
throw in the mid 90s, but now he struggles to get it up in the I guess in the lower 90s. But yeah, this is a guy who actually retired out of baseball in 2022, and he struggled a little bit, but he came back. And then after the lockout, the Angels picked him back up, and he didn't really. Actually, yeah, I think so. It was sometime between 2021 and 2022 he retired, but then he came back and he tried to make a comeback to the big leagues, but he didn't make it out of AAA. His year last year was something to not really remember. He had a 5.94 ERA, so not a 1.679 WHIP. So yeah, there wasn't
Yeah,
much to
this is
talk about. His walks per 9 inning, you ready for this? Was 5.7.
Yeah, this is definitely let's just invite another major league arm when we have a spot to fill. This is not a guy that's gonna even I really doubt this guy touches the roster. And I mean, in all seriousness, like this is just another token signing. This is what they do. This is spring training. You have a ton of spots open. You can bring guys in. Um, you know, I mean, look, he's so excited. He was like, I cannot wait to learn from the best and become a part of a winning organization. Time to flip the switch. Now, it kind of reminds me of the pitcher, the submarine pitcher that was I forget his name. Was it Bradford? Chad Bradford, the sidearm pitcher in the movie Moneyball, where when he got the opportunity to pitch for him, he told Billy Bean, "Thank you, sir. Thank you. I just praise God for you letting me pitch." And he goes, "You're welcome." He's like, "No one's ever given me this opportunity." He's like, "Wait, no one's ever offered you a contract?" He goes, "No, sir. You're the first." I'm not saying this is like that, but when I saw his comments, it instantly reminded me of that guy because I don't know. Just look, there's going to be a lot of guys there that get invites and that are going to log some innings.
Right.
But what I'm excited about in the minor leagues and spring training is number one, my son and I get to go, which I'm totally stoked about that. But number two, someone like Corey Julks, man, this kid's ready. This kid's primed. He wants to touch the diamond at Minute Maid Park in 2023. And so he's going to be motivated. And I think you might see some dark horse candidates, some people that maybe aren't expected to be on this roster to really be scratching and clawing to get to that spot. So look, it's a token signing. The guy has major league history. What you do is you sign a guy, he's got his velo is down. You hope to get his velo up. Go look at Baseball Savant and go to relief pitchers and look at top spin rate. Do you know who has the top spin rate of all relief pitchers, of all closers?
Who?
Ryan Presley. Ryan Presley had the top spin rate this last year. And maybe they can get this guy's spin rate up. I mean, like I said, it's a minor league contract. It's non-consequential. It's an extra arm. If you need to bring a guy up, if he's there, it doesn't really hurt anything. A minor league contract doesn't take that roster spot. And so we'll just see what happens. There's a lot of people that they can bring in. Looks like Jalen Johnson's here. Looks like Solo Thought Sports is hanging out with us. Thanks for hanging out with us here at Locked On Astros. Appreciate y'all. And dude, Dana Brown, I hope if I get to meet Dana Brown, I'm going to try to get a couple questions. And if I do, we're going to throw it up on the show. All right, Eric, how's that sound?
Okay. His spin rate is actually, this was back in 2019 and 2022. Sorry, 2020 when he was in the big leagues. But his spin rate was 22 32, so it's not terrible. And that's on his four-seam fastball. His slider is 1912, and his changeup is 1825. So it's not the best, but it's something to look at. But so yeah, I just think that this is something that he did have some success for a while there. His velocity is in the 89th percentile when it's up there. His spin rate is not the best, but it's something they can probably work with. But we'll see what happens. But this is just something that they just wanted to do. But
So, are you going to become president of the Buttrey fan club?
no, not while he's in AAA. Not in AAA.
So he's got to make it. But his first
He's got to
game,
pitch in the big
are,
leagues and
are
have a
you
good outing.
are you going to buy his jersey when it makes it to the authentic shop if he pitches one
No,
inning?
I can't believe it's not Buttrey.
Well, my friend Kevin Simeon, who will appreciate me mentioning this on the show, he has a Will Smith jersey. And anytime someone would talk bad about Will Smith, he goes, "That's my relief pitcher. Don't talk bad about him." So
Yeah,
we need to find someone this year. We need to find someone that's like an unsung hero and like get that jersey and just wear it with pride. Let's do it. Not Buttrey, but someone. Let's find that player and let's latch on to him and let's start a genuine fan club of the underdog. Kind of like
is
when
Mauricio Dubon? No, Jake Myers.
oh wow, he's really gone down a couple notches. No, it could be like the Astros version of Boban. Like literally every Rockets game I go to, my son and I are going on Wednesday night. People are like Boban, they're like rooting to like get this
Please
guy
don't
in the
put that.
game.
Please don't put that, Mark. Please don't put that, Mark. Leave that alone. Okay,
Oh
that does not go up on
yes,
screen.
oh
No,
yes, it does. So
no,
no,
no.
Eric has retired as the president of Robel Garcia,
We're
president
not
of the
starting this
fan club.
again. All right. So, yes, to my friend, this is the official Ty Buttrey welcome show. So, welcome to the Houston Astros. So yeah. So, moving on. I do want to kind of. I know you wanted to have a 5-second rant on some guy named Joe something
Joe Mama.
Kelly. Joe something. I forgot his name. He
Oh,
doesn't
I thought
matter
it was Joe.
anymore.
Oh, you talking about Joe Kelly, baby lip boy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say this guy's a boob. Okay, this guy is the fakest tough guy that I've ever seen. Like, let me tell you how fake Joe Kelly is. Okay, he's so fake that the only mural that's ever been painted of him is him busting out his bottom lip like he's a 3-year-old. And then he had the gall to actually say this in 2020. If the Astros made it to the bubble, I would have confronted them in the lobby. No, you wouldn't. Have you seen Yordan Alvarez? Have you
It's Jon
seen
Snow
these
versus the
players?
winter.
Like it, yeah, it doesn't like okay. And then he even claims this. Now look, I wasn't there in the room when him and his wife had this conversation, but apparently, according to Joe Kelly, if you believe anything this guy says, okay, it's like Mike Fyers Jr. Joe Kelly's wife was approached by Rob Manfred in Major League Baseball, and they said if the Astros make it to the World Series, you need to make sure that you keep him separate from the Astros. And she's like, well, I don't think I can even do that. I'm like, okay, hold the phone. This no offense, Joe Kelly. You're taller than me, but dude, you're a twig, bro. Number two, if I look back at the pictures of the time when you so gutlessly threw at both Bregman and Correa, your teammate stood out on the field while your little skinny butt was in the dugout like a little piece of chicken crap that you are. That's bullcrap, bro. Don't be fake outrage. Don't be fake tough guy. Like, be a tough guy. Come to Minute Maid Park opening day. Throw at one of our players opening day. How about that? How about that? Okay? Catch me outside. How about that?
Oh, are we still talking about that? I thought she was
Oh,
gone.
man. Dude, I want to interview Joe Kelly. I want to be like, really? Come on, bro. Like 100. Just me and you. Mano y
Hey,
mano. Like,
hey,
did
watch
you
him
really
be
say
the
that?
super sweet guy, and
Oh,
that's just all
whatever.
for show.
Have you seen the dude miss the net in his yard when he's pitching to it and he hits his window?
No,
I mean, come on, man. Just Joe Kelly's a big L.
yeah.
You can't spell Kelly without 2 L's. How's that?
All right. So there's a lot that we've got to still discuss. We're running out of time, but definitely just to kind of wrap up on things, the schedule did come out. I mean, not the schedule, but the time, but
Right.
opening day will be at 6:08 p.m. So unfortunately, for us teachers, we don't have really excuse to be sick that day and get off early. So that's definitely something to look at. And if you're looking at the rematch of the Phillies versus the Astros, that will be happening on Friday, April 28th, and those games will be at 7:10 p.m. And the Astros will have one game on Peacock, and it will be August 20th against the Mariners at 12:10.
That'd be a
So
good
you have
game.
to subscribe to Peacock to be able to watch that game.
Yeah, and I don't have the breakdown. I don't want to get the numbers wrong, but they have changed the total games in each division. They've knocked those down, and we'll go over that in detail. Um, and also our guy Mark says shout out to Mike Trout for making it back to a playoff game finally. He was at the Eagles game on Sunday.
Oh,
Mike Trout finally made the playoffs. He had to do it by attending an Eagles game. Sorry, Trout. Sorry, Mikey. Great dude. I bet he's the coolest guy to hang out with. But gosh, the Angels and the Angels owner's not going anywhere. What are Angels fans doing right now? They're like, we got Otani, we got Trout, and the only way they're going to make a championship game is if they both attend the Super Bowl, right?
yeah. I know Matthew asked, are they going to show the new flag on the train up there? No, they're going to post it up on a little, I don't know if you call it the rafter type thing, but they're going to like
On the light
unveil
bars.
it on opening day.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, and then dude, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but El Grande is huge now. El Grande's
yeah, they
even
got a new
bigger.
one.
It's like super El Grande. It's
And
El,
I don't think Alvarez has broke it yet.
it's El Grande Super Sensacional. How's that?
Sure.
It's Gigante El
Yeah.
Grande.
So, yeah, I did see that somebody went to look at their seats for their partial plan today, and I made a point to look. Okay, yeah, they finally got that installed because it wasn't installed at FanFest, I don't believe.
No,
So,
they were they I mean, they have been working on it, and I
right.
noticed that they had increased
Yeah.
inside. Plus, Samsung also hooked up new LEDs, and apparently they're going to do a lot more interactive lighting in the stadium, kind of like they do with Ryan Presley, dude. I'm getting so excited thinking about it. Like being in the World Series Game 6 and then listening to Johnny Cash just freaking rock that song in the LED lights flashing off and on as Presley walks onto the mound. It reminded me, it harkened me back to when Brad Lidge was pre Pujols and it was lights out Lidge and we got the ribbon, with the fire and the heavy metal and the, all the big loud, dude. I want more of that. I need more of that this year. Dude, I'm so freaking pumped. With football coming to a close, that means baseball's right around the corner.
Yep. And the rodeo too. If you celebrate the rodeo
Yeah,
season's coming around and
yeah. I
spring
don't
break's
know.
coming. If you celebrate spring break.
Spring break, that's right, dude. We're
Yeah.
going to Florida, baby.
Anyway,
Woo-hoo.
well, that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'll be back tomorrow to go ahead and talk a little bit about a certain book that everybody's talking about. And I don't think it's coming out yet, so I don't know what's exactly in it, but we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit more about the schedule. But thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen. Now make it your second listen to Locked On MLB Prospect. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure you go and subscribe to us on YouTube and make us your first listen on your way to work. And we'll see you tomorrow, and go Stros.